The moment shame hits, it doesn't arrive loudly. It whispers. It leans close. It says, everyone's watching, and before you even realize what's happening, your body reacts like you've been caught doing something illegal, even when you've done nothing wrong. That's the trick. Shame isn't about truth, it's about control. And the people who use it, they know exactly what they're doing. They don't raise their voice, they don't throw punches, they just smile slightly, tilt their head, and make you feel small in front of an audience, real or imagined. And if you respond emotionally, defensively, or apologetically, congratulations, you've just handed them power on a silver platter. Here's the part no one tells you. Shame only works on people who rush to explain themselves. It feeds on urgency. It survives on your need to be seen as good. That's why Machiavellian psychology doesn't teach you to fight shame head-on. That would be amateur hour. It teaches you to starve it, to let it collapse under its own weight. When someone tries to shame you, they are not attacking your behavior. They're attacking your social standing. They want you to feel exposed. They want you to rush to clean up an image they dirtied on purpose. This is why arguing back never works. Defending yourself signals that the accusation landed, even if you're right, even if you're innocent, especially then. Most people panic at this point. They over-explain, they justify, they say things like, "That's not what I meant," or "You misunderstood me," or my personal favorite, "I didn't mean it like that," which is fascinating because now you're the one explaining, and they're the one judging. The roles have quietly flipped. So what do you do instead? You slow everything down. Shame relies on speed. It wants an instant reaction. The pause is deadly to it. When someone tries to shame you, especially publicly, and you don't immediately respond, something strange happens. The attention shifts. The room gets uncomfortable. Not for you, for them. Because now everyone is waiting to see if their attempt actually worked. This is where the first move happens. You don't deny. You don't defend. You don't apologize. You acknowledge without accepting. A simple, calm response like, "Interesting perspective," or "That's one way to see it," does something powerful. It refuses the emotional frame they tried to trap you in. You're not agreeing, you're not resisting, you're standing above it. And psychologically, that's infuriating. See, shame is a dominance play. When you don't play along, the other person feels exposed. They wanted you to shrink. Instead, you made them look like they're trying too hard. Now, here's where it gets darker. Once you've broken the emotional momentum, you reverse the pressure, not by attacking, but by observing. Machiavellian psychology loves observation because it sounds neutral but cuts deep. You might say, very calmly, "You seem pretty invested in this," or "That reaction tells me this matters to you." Notice what's happening. You're not defending your position, you're analyzing theirs. This forces them into self-awareness in front of others, and most people hate that. Suddenly, they're no longer the moral authority. They're just someone with an emotional agenda. But let's go deeper, because the real power move isn't what you say, it's what you don't rush to fix. People who use shame expect you to care more about your reputation than your boundaries. So when you don't scramble to restore your image, you quietly signal something dangerous. You don't need their approval to survive. That terrifies insecure people. And make no mistake, shamers are deeply insecure. Confident people don't need to humiliate others. They just move on. Another lethal technique is controlled ambiguity. Instead of clarifying, you let your statement hang. If they accuse you of being cold, selfish, or wrong, you respond with something like, "I'm okay with how I handled it." That's it. No explanation, No footnotes, no emotional discount coupons. Why does this work? Because shame needs your agreement to exist. The moment you signal internal approval, the external attack loses oxygen. Now, let's talk about sarcasm, but the intelligent kind. Sarcasm, when used poorly, makes you look defensive, but when used surgically, it exposes the absurdity of the shaming attempt. A subtle line like, "Ah, yes, the public trial, I was wondering when that would start," reframes the interaction as theater. And once it's theater, the audience starts watching the performer, not the target. And here's the thing most people miss. You don't need to win the argument. You just need to exit with your status intact. Machiavellian strategy is not about being right. It's about positioning. If you walk away calm, unbothered, and uninterested in proving yourself, you've already won. There's another layer to this that's even more unsettling. Sometimes people shame you because they're trying to offload their own guilt. By projecting it onto you, they get temporary relief. When you don't absorb it, they're forced to sit with it themselves. That's why they escalate. That's why they push harder. Stay still, let them. Silence, by the way, is not weakness. It's a mirror. When someone throws shame at you and you respond with silence and eye contact, you're telling them, "I see what you're doing." Most people crack under that. And if they push for a reaction, if they say, "So you're not even going to respond?" you smile slightly and say, "I already did." That line alone has ended more power plays than arguments ever could. The final move is the exit. You don't linger. You don't stay to be analyzed. You disengage on your terms, physically leaving. Changing the subject or shifting attention elsewhere sends a final message: this interaction is no longer important to you. And in power dynamics, importance is everything. Here's the brutal truth. Shame only controls you if you believe your value is up for public negotiation. The moment you stop auditioning for approval, shame becomes noise. Annoying, maybe, but harmless. So when someone tries to shame you, don't get louder, don't get smaller, get colder. Get slower. Get observant. Let them reveal themselves, while you reveal nothing. Because the most Machiavellian response to shame isn't aggression. It's indifference with perfect timing.